I'm going to be checking the voltage at the electric choke cap. But before I do that, this test light, I'm going to test it, make sure it's working. It shows 11.8 volts. This battery has not been fired up for a couple of days, so that might be about right.
And you also turn the ignition to the on.
The ignition is in the run position, so I should be getting voltage down here, and I am. 9.5 volts. Now the reason I'm getting 9.5 volts is because this blue wire, solid blue, is aftermarket. It's not the factory wire. It's going into an aftermarket loom, and whoever hooked this up originally, or before I had it, connected it to the starter relay starter circuit, which is showing voltage from the resistor wire side of the current that feeds the ignition coil, which is 9.5 volts. So it's adequate voltage to heat this up, so that when the car is running, the choke cap will open up slowly and we'll get proper choking action off the car. Now the reason all that's important is because this carburetor had been taking a little too long to come off of its cold connection, or cold choke. So it would start well, but in a few moments, too much choking caused the spark plugs to start to load up and get fuel fouled. After the choke warmed up completely, the air-fuel mixture was better, and I could clean the plugs up by running up at a higher RPM, just kind of clear them out. So the other day, I took this choke cap, loosened the 3 screws holding the retaining clip, and moved it 3.5 notches to the lean side and locked it down. So I'm hoping that in having done that, the choke will come off a little sooner than before, and the engine won't be having such a problem as it did before by starting cold, running well for a few moments, and then suddenly running too rich and loading up the spark plugs. So I also wanted to check and make sure I was getting current down here to the electric choke and see if there's AC current off the stator terminal on the alternator, or if it's DC voltage coming from somewhere else. Well, somewhere else is off the ignition side of the starter relay. So now we're going to start the car up and see how it performs during cold warm-up. Cool. Okay, we're about to do a cold start on the 73 Mach 1. Now, I did run it for about 45 seconds, about maybe 10 minutes, 12 minutes prior to this moment, just to get it off of the 4-post lift out onto the driveway so we could put away tools and such. Anyway, this isn't a dead cold start, but it's enough of a cold start to hopefully have anyone watching and listening to this video be able to tell when the electric choke is starting to come off and when it's on too far and loading up the plugs with excess fuel, burning excess fuel ratio, causing a little bit of black smoke in the back end, the tailpipe tips, and a little bit of rumbling. Listen to this start up. Maybe you can tell that's loading the spark plugs up because it's a little bit rich. It's rumbling a little bit. So I bring up the RPM, goose the engine a little bit to try to clear out the air-fuel mixture and also warm the engine up. As the engine warms up, the electric choke will open. And once it's fully open, the engine smooths out. Now, I set the automatic choke cap a little bit leaner by 3 index points the other day, hoping that would fix the problem. Well, I also got a new voltmeter test light, and I was able to see that it's only getting 9.5 volts when the ignition key is in the run position. And I was hoping to see full battery voltage. It tells me whoever put this carburetor on used the factory electric choke lead to power an aftermarket carburetor's electric choke. So once I rewire that for 12 volts or full battery voltage, then this cold start, cold run to warming up issue will go away. If you listen to the engine now, it's no longer rumbling. It's running real smooth. That's because the choke eventually opened up. So now we're going to go ahead and warm the car up, and we'll be back.